Maybe.
Whoa! Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of What Drives Us. No episode number. We need like a code name or something, you know?
It'd be 148A or
Yeah.
whatever.
So I'll get right to explaining why are we here on a Monday night at 6 o'clock. Well, just over the weekend, I finished and posted the What Drives Us review for the Nissan LEAF. And as I made it, knew there was some ambiguity in it, and I expected some commentary. I expected it from the 2018 LEAF group on Facebook that I've kind of been participating in and grabbing some information from. Instead, it came in the form of some questions from Dr. Evan Fusco.
What about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Fusco, having opened this can of worms, I said, I told Evan this afternoon, I said, you know what? Those are all really good questions, totally valid, and I want to respond to them, but why don't we talk about it? Why don't we have a discussion rather than me just type some stuff out and then boom, and it's gone and nobody knows. So there.
And for some reason, I said yes.
Yeah, I know. Your life must be miserable.
Missing a cards game for this. So I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, tell me it's not on the TV next to you. You're not missing a cards game.
I had a room over. I'm good.
It's not on in that room because you watch hockey from there, don't you?
No. Sometimes, well, it depends how important the game is. I'll put it on my iPad.
There you go. Okay. Thank you. So if you haven't seen it, this isn't going to make a lot of sense. YouTube.com/what drives us. Look for our 2018 Nissan LEAF review. It's long. My apologies in advance. I'm not good at throwing information out. I like to have these things long, but you can watch that or you can listen to us. We're just going to talk about some aspects of it. And maybe you have other questions. You can post them on the Facebook page, facebook.com/what drives us, or on Twitter @what drives us. You can add us with questions. We're all good. So let's get right to it. And I'm not going to,
it's long, but it's not it listens well. I mean, I didn't feel like it was droning and I needed to go take a bathroom break in the middle or anything. It was, I think it flows nicely and there's good information spread throughout.
And exciting visuals. I had to go there, didn't I?
Absolutely.
I had to go there. Hey, by any chance, are you in the chat room, Evan?
I don't have a link to the chat room. I only got one.
Oh, I didn't send you a link to the chat room. I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm going to send that to you right now. How's that? Right. In our chat, in our private chat. The private show panel chat. Thank you, sir. So anyway, Evan, like I said, Evan asked some really good questions in our chat, in our private chat.
Hang on, let me mute.
Private.
All right, we're good.
There we go.
We have David Glatfelty in the chat room.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you, everybody in the chat room. Thank you for coming. Where did you?
5 watchers.
Here we go.
David and 4 secret guests.
Ooh, secret guests. Well, hey, you know what? I don't care. All good. It's all good. Evan's going to check the chat room periodically, and we're going to chat. I don't know how long the show's going to be. It's not going to. Likely, it's going to be a full-length show. We're just going to chat about this. We're going to go on our merry way. But like I said, there were really good questions, and I wanted to address them. So here's a good way to do it. Evan's first question. I'm going to read directly what he wrote. Okay, what the message. He said, "Nissan LEAF review. First, maybe you said it, but I'm at work and I have some distractions. But you seem to be complimentary of ProPilot Assist and ePedal, but you've been pretty critical of Tesla Autopilot. You said PPA and EP are not AP. In other words, the Nissan ProPilot Assist and ePedal are not Autopilot. But from your description, they sound awfully similar. So I'm unclear as to what the differences are and why. Despite criticism, prior criticism of Tesla AP, care to clarify that point? I think it's an excellent point. And I definitely want to clarify it because in my opinion, there are huge differences. So, and Evan, because you're a Tesla user, you have two of them. I'm not. I'm going to presume, I'm going to start by asking you autopilot questions.
Okay.
You can put an address into autopilot, and will the car more or less take you there?
No, not yet. That's the next iteration Elon's announced, and hopefully would be coming out in I believe at the end of this month, he said.
Okay, so that's in the new version.
Elon time.
Right, in Elon time. But currently, so then when you engage, you have to engage autopilot like on the freeway. You can't engage it on a city street because it doesn't know where to go.
No, you can engage it on the city street. You can engage it anywhere you want.
Right.
As long as it can see the road lines, the side road lines, you can engage it anywhere you want. You shouldn't do it in a city, but people do. Right. And, but it's, best operational function that I think it's optimized currently for operation on an interstate, on a highway, where you've got long hauls of road. You don't plan on making any turns. There are no stoplights. There are no stop signs. There are no people that are going to walk across the road in the dark at night with their bicycles, things like that.
Did you really go there?
I did.
Did you really go? That was a Volvo anyway.
I know. But anyway, it's specifically just optimized for those situations, but it will follow your commands. If it can see the lines on the road, you can be going right down the middle of downtown and it will go, but it won't stop at stop signs, and it won't stop at red lights, and it won't
it doesn't know where you're going. It's just going to go straight until you turn.
Right. Okay. And it may or may not stop for a human being. I haven't tested that.
Yeah, let's not. Let's not. So in that very, very narrow sense, the current version of Tesla Autopilot and ProPilot Assist are similar. But I want to back up one step and go, Tesla calls their software Autopilot. And Autopilot, as we've discussed in the show, and we can disagree on this, but as we've discussed in the show, comes with a whole litany of sort of implied things. Autopilot, and the little inflatable guy gets up and steers the jet to safety, right? That was an airplane joke.
Okay, we've disagreed on this before. I think we're going to continue to.
Right.
Given that it's not an airplane, so it doesn't have to maintain altitude, it functions extremely similarly to autopilot in an airplane. It maintains speed. It maintains heading. It maintains, altitude, I guess, because it, just stays on the road. And that's it. I mean, that's what autopilot does. It doesn't land the airplane. Well, there are versions that land the airplane, but that's not typically how autopilot is used in an airplane either. So to that end, it actually is very, very similar. And the amount of attention that has to be maintained is very, very similar between the two as well. But
where we would disagree is the difference between flying an airplane, altitude aside, and navigating a motor vehicle is that a motor vehicle has rigid lanes, has a set road. And if you deviate from that road, somebody's going to get hurt, you or somebody else. In a plane, you tell it to go to 172 and the plane heads south by southwest or whatever it is, right? And the plane just goes. There's no lanes. And that certainly simplifies the airplane autopilot. It doesn't have to navigate a road. There's no turns. There's no other, maybe there are planes, but there are collision warning radar and all of that in airplanes as well. So the difference is that autopilot in a plane, because of the way planes move through the space, is a much more straightforward process than it is for a motor vehicle. Is that fair?
I don't necessarily think so. Okay. I really don't. I mean,
you have to.
If an airplane deviates from a heading, it could crash into other planes because they maintain very specific distances, and you're traveling at 600 miles an hour, and you deviate your closing speed on other airplanes is unbelievable. You're looking at 1,200 miles an hour closing speeds, and you're covering miles and seconds between airplanes. So there are different ways that they work and are built to determine how to stay in their lane, so to speak. But I think from a conceptual point of view, they're very similar, and I think it's a fair descriptor for what the car does.
I had to check it in the chat room.
Okay.
Hold on one sec. Okay, so autopilot, name baggage, name non-pilots. That might be true. So again, I don't want to get too bogged down in any one point, but in my opinion, Tesla's use of autopilot is less appropriate than Nissan's use of what they call ProPilot Assist. And there was a discussion on one of the Nissan groups recently about, hey, ProPilot doesn't do this and ProPilot doesn't do that, and ProPilot, and like 6-7 people had mentioned it. And I came in at the end of the discussion and said, that's not what the thing's called. It's called ProPilot Assist. It is in no way, shape, or form marketed by Nissan as this will pilot your vehicle.
So what does it do? Well, it's got the word pilot in it. So
ProPilot Assist.
All right.
Assist. What does it do? What ProPilot Assist does is it's dynamic cruise control, similar to that in many other cars. Okay. Everyone here know what dynamic cruise control? If you don't, I'll explain it briefly. Old-fashioned cruise control, you got up to 60 miles an hour, you punched the button, and the car kept going 60 miles an hour until you turned it off or hit the brake. It didn't care what was in front of you. It didn't know that. It didn't understand. It just kept going at 60 miles an hour. Not so convenient unless you're on a lonely road. Dynamic cruise has sensors in the vehicle, and as something in front of you gets closer, it will slow your vehicle down. In some cases, come to a complete stop and then resume travel. So dynamic cruise is a wonderful invention, especially in a place, as I've said many times, like Southern California, where you spend a lot of time in traffic, and not having to micromanage that accelerator pedal without taking your attention off the road is a huge benefit. Okay. So that's part of ProPilot Assist. The other part is steering. Now, like the Tesla, there are sensors again that senses the road lines, and the Nissan system very clearly indicates with an audio tone and an indicator light on the dash whether or not the car is currently sensing road lines. If it is within limited parameters, it will steer. Now, I did not test it to the extent of like trying to use it on a freeway on-ramp or trying to make right angle turns. But through the curves of most of the freeways, I found that ProPilot Assist worked well in keeping the car centered in the lane and following the curves of the road. But maybe 20% of the time, maybe a little less, you'd hear the chime and the light would go off, and you would know that ProPilot Assist was not steering the vehicle in any sense. The other big difference between ProPilot Assist and Tesla's autopilot is it can't be fooled with an orange. You have to have your hands on the wheel. If your hands are off the wheel for more than 10 or 20 seconds, it flashes a warning. And by that, I mean, you've got to be holding onto the wheel. I tried a tennis ball. It didn't work.
Okay, so a couple things.
Yeah.
I still don't understand the difference between what is specifically, what is the difference that you're seeing between Tesla Autopilot and the Nissan LEAF ProPilot Assist? And two, Tesla has, quote, fixed the orange issue because now you have to wiggle the steering wheel back and forth every so often, or it gives you warnings every 13 seconds, which is frankly a pain in the ass. So, and I'm pretty pissed off that people have screwed around and found defeats for the system that made him have to make it more annoying.
That is probably the biggest difference. You've got to hold the wheel. Okay. There's no like you don't get like some relaxation. Your hands need to be on the wheel. It's steering. You don't have to grip it with a kung fu grip, but if the steering wheel senses you're not holding it in very few seconds, it will turn itself off.
Like 2 seconds or like
no, I would say between, you know what? I didn't time it. Damn it. And I should have. I'm going to say between 15 and 30 seconds.
So it's the Tesla's less than that now.
Okay.
It is. It's like I think it's 13 seconds, 12 seconds. Somebody in the chat, if you're on there, tell me, correct me, but it's gotten very, very short, and it's frustrating actually for me to drive when you're on a long, lonely highway drive and you can't just apply torque in one direction. So kind of my orange was my hand, and I would rest my right elbow on the armrest and then grip the I don't know what you call the little spoke that comes out of the steering wheel. I could rest my hand on there, and it had just about the right amount of weight and torque to that the torque sensor, when it checked, could feel my hand, the weight of my hand on there. But now that doesn't work. I have to every so often lift the steering wheel up to the left intentionally so that it feels the torque in the opposite direction. And it's frustrating because I am holding the steering wheel. And in fact, sometimes even when I'm holding it with two hands, if I haven't intentionally wiggled it back and forth twice, it will start flashing at me and tell me I got to hold the steering wheel. I'm like, I do this because I am holding the damn steering wheel. So I don't know. I think they're very, very close.
From what you agree. No, I'm going to agree. Having you told me what it is, what autopilot is right now, I still think the name is misleading. We're going to disagree on that. And I know that at some point Tesla is going to, because they promised for years and they've charged people for the hardware, self-driving capability.
Right, but that's correct? Different. It's a separate capability that you pay for separately than the autopilot. And then let me ask a couple of other things. Is there any kind of lane change option on
not that I'm aware of?
And so certainly we've got that on the S. And then do you get a good you probably showed the display, but does it show like vehicles, two vehicles ahead of you and anything like that in there? So that's
pretty standard dynamic cruise control display with just whatever, if there's something in front of you, if it's sensing that. Yeah.
Right. So kind of maybe a half step back from the full Tesla's full autopilot.
I want to say that the important part isn't so much the technical differences. I think it's the intent. The intent, in my opinion, and I don't know that this is even a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that Tesla has marketed autopilot as a self-driving feature. Nissan has deployed ProPilot Assist as a way to be safer in driving. They haven't talked about summon. They haven't talked about driving your car across the country by itself or anything like that.
All right. I think you're hung up on the marketing bit, but I think operationally and the way that I understand the two, they seem identical to me. And I think the intent is the same for autopilot and your ProPilot Assist. Full self-driving is a completely different animal. You pay $3,000 extra for that when you buy your Model S or your Model 3 to get that feature. It's, $5,000 to get the autopilot and another $3,000 to get the full self-driving. So they're clearly distinct products that Tesla's marketing. And I think maybe you've kind of merged the two into one and are sort of assuming that the autopilot is the self-driving or at least partial self-driving. I make a clear distinction between those two things.
Okay. David in the chat says he agrees with you and full self-driving. Yeah, he's just totally agreeing with you. Thanks, David.
Kicked out of the chat room.
Yeah, no, can I do that? Can I kick somebody out of the chat? No, I wouldn't. Of course not. No, but I mean, hey, you know what? Again, it's opinions, and we can feel differently about these things. We can be impacted by the marketing or by whatever differently, and I just disagree with you. I don't know. I don't think I've said you're wrong at any point so far in the show. Oddly enough. So that's sort of the ProPilot and the e-pedal. I don't know that the e-pedal has anything, again, not.
Yeah. What is that? Is that the dynamic part of the dynamic cruise control? Is that what that is?
No. So e-pedal is a function. Again, you can enable e-pedal, and what that does is selectively increases regenerative braking, so that when you pull your foot off the gas pedal, the car will slow to a stop.
Okay.
Depending on conditions and depending on speed, that the slow to a stop varies a little bit. But basically, Nissan sells it as a one pedal driving thing, and it's really cool in a sense that, and it's so obvious.
So is it just two things then? There's e-pedal or no e-pedal?
E-pedal and ProPilot Assist.
Okay, so no, I mean, so the e-pedal is either on or off. It's a binary.
Correct. It's a binary. Okay. It's on or it's off.
It's not an adjustable thing. So, and then when e-pedal is off, I assume there's still some regenerative braking that happens.
Yes.
Okay.
So and obviously, when you hit the brakes, there's regenerative braking again.
All right. So there's essentially that's a very similar implementation, just kind of in the reverse of what Tesla does. So with a Tesla, you can, when you get the car, it's normal for regenerative braking, which is used to be more aggressive, but it's still quite aggressive. It'll slow you down to a stop. When you get in that last 5 or 6 miles per hour, there's almost no regenerative braking. So you coast for quite a while before you'll stop, but it will stop you eventually. But you have the option to go into the settings display and turn that to low. And so it's a very minimal amount of regeneration, though it still regenerates. And there's almost no good reason to use that. So it's kind of interesting that they have just kind of chosen to use the less aggressive regeneration on the Leaf, unless you select to be more aggressive with it.
Unless you turn on e-pedal.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. And at that point, as I said, it will slow if you're in town, it will slow at a fairly quick rate. It won't stop you. It's not like hitting the brakes, but it's the regenerative braking kicks in pretty aggressively, which again is cool. Once you get used to it, the way obviously you counter that is to very lightly have your foot on the gas if you want to coast.
Yeah. I'd really like to see. It's too bad you couldn't have done sort of side by side with a Model S or Model 3, and like on similar roads, and tried out your autopilot versus ProPilot Assist. Try out the e-braking versus the normal braking, and then go to low regeneration on the just to kind of compare those, because I suspect that these are very, very similar. Both the e-brake and the e-pedal and the ProPilot Assist are very, very similar. Just perhaps implemented slightly differently, slightly different philosophies in how they were implemented.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I don't know. I'd have to know more. Flyer 351 says e-pedal is regen plus friction braking. I wasn't aware of the friction braking component, but I'm not going to, it could very well be. So yeah, I learn things all the time. So I think that's one component of what you were asking about.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, look, I really just wanted clarification because I didn't know.
Yeah, no. I think it's a really good discussion from my point of view, because for me, the differences in the way the two companies have dealt with these products are significant and meaningful. And I think it's a good discussion to have. The difference between an assist and an autopilot, again, without getting hung up on the words, well, no, I am getting hung up on the words. That's the whole point. Very much getting hung up on the words, because I think one indicates something, one implies something, and the other one is really clear on what it does. It's an assist. It is in no means, yes, I realize the word pilot is in there, but anyway. All right. So your second question, I'm going to read that from earlier this afternoon. Second question, you were both critical of the lack of battery management system, and you said you wouldn't use that as a reason not to get the car. That seems contradictory to me. I guess if you could say, if you live in an area like Arizona, you should be careful getting this car. For most people in normal climate area, lack of battery management system shouldn't be a deciding factor. Fair?
And that should be thermal management.
Thermal, that's okay. So the 2018 Nissan LEAF SV that I drove, it does not have thermal management in the battery pack. That will be coming in the newer E+ LEAF that's going to be later this year with the larger battery pack. This has been a criticism of Nissan since the beginning, that their passive thermal management systems are not adequate in some situations, those situations being hotter climates and aggressive recharging. Aggressive recharging comes up in, oh, I just flipped off everybody in the crowd. Hey, sorry about that. Aggressive recharging comes into play when, for instance, you're on a road trip and you drive your 130 odd miles or whatever it is, and you stop and you DC fast charge. The problem is without thermal management, the battery pack gets hot and it kicks down the level of charging automatically, which means you don't get as much of a recharge as you might if you had temperature management in that battery pack system. So how can I both criticize it and recommend the vehicle without it? Because not everybody's going on a road trip, because not everybody lives in a super hot climate. And I know, again, from one of the 2018 Nissan LEAF groups was kind enough to kind of talk about their experience with that. And there's definitely issues that some people have had with battery life because of the lack, in their opinion, because of the lack of better thermal management. But I know that doesn't affect everyone. So
it's kind of a big asterisk though on the recommendation. I think, I mean, I think you have to say, before you buy this car, you really need to do your homework. You need to do your research. You need to look at the climate that you live in. You need to think about the type of driving that you're going to be doing. You need to be willing to accept significant loss of range if you fall outside of some of these quote normal parameters. If you're going to charge at 120 volts every day for your 6 mile commute to church only on Wednesdays and Sundays, you're probably fine. But if you are going to be more aggressive with this vehicle and taking it through temperature extremes, that may affect the long-term longevity and range of that battery pack.
Okay, now you're being silly.
Am I?
Well, I think your examples were obviously hyperbolic.
Hyperbolic, right?
And that's all, and that's okay.
But I think, where's the middle? Where's the line end? Well, I think that's, and I think at some point in there, if you're a 70 mile a day driver that is going to use CHAdeMO or once a week or twice a week, you might have to start thinking about it. Maybe you live in, Nixa, Missouri, and it gets up to 110 degrees a couple days out of the year and sits over 90 for 2 months at a time. Is that hot enough? If your car sits outside?
That hot in Nixa, Missouri?
Oh man, all the time.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so but we get the extremes. So we'll get in zeros and ice storms in the winter. So I think you want to do your homework. And decide what kind of risk you're willing to accept, what kind of range loss you're willing to accept for the lack of that thermal management system, because you don't have that little extra security blanket that you would have if it had a good management system.
I totally agree. I think consumers need to do their homework, and I'm going to make it a broader point on every car they buy. I think they need to rationally and carefully look at their use scenario, judge what their needs are, and buy the best thing for that. And we've preached that on What Drives Us since day one, that people have a tendency just to buy the biggest fucking car they can afford. They don't care about gas mileage unless gas is expensive.
Yeah, but so here's the only thing I'll say to that is couple things is if you go and you buy a Toyota Camry today without doing any research, you're going to get a really reliable car that's going to last you 200,000 miles, and it's going to spin like a top even if you abuse the hell out of the thing, because it's well engineered. There's a good history, there's a good background there, and people already have some anxiety about electric vehicles. There's a lot of ignorance about electric vehicles. There's a lot of misinformation about electric vehicles. And now if Nissan, by not including a thermal management system, kind of throws this big complex variable into the mix, I think it scares off potential buyers that are not going to feel comfortable making those types of decisions. Whereas if you buy a Camry with or without a turbocharger, which I know they don't come, but then you can, then you only have one small decision to think about. Do I need a turbocharger? Do I not need a turbocharger? What are the risks and benefits of a turbocharger? And that's something everybody kind of understands, because we understand, for the most part, conventional internal combustion in vehicles. But a new person to EVs, I think, would be, if they heard about the potential issues with thermal management, I think that runs the risk of scaring them off as buyers.
So I think that's a wonderful point you just made. And I want to expand on it a little bit. We have a mutual friend, a guy named Rick. Rick had a Prius. Rick lives in Arizona. Rick had experiences with his Prius that none of our other mutual friends had. Fair and accurate?
Yeah.
Does that mean that Prius should come with an asterisk?
I don't know. Maybe.
But the reason I bring that up is
pretty oddball, right?
The reason I bring that up is I think most Leaf owners, that's not really a big issue. I think for most Leaf owners, it's not. If you're a road trip person, if you're a heavy, I've got 150 miles of range and I'm going to use 130 of it every day, that's an issue. If you live in Surprise, Arizona, sorry, Rick, didn't mean to out you. If you live in Arizona, maybe an electric car without thermal management isn't a good investment. And yeah, it's on the consumer to know that. I definitely agree with that. I'm sure the Nissan dealers in the greater Phoenix area don't say, hey, before you buy that Leaf, you know what I mean? Like, and maybe they should. But again, I guess my point here is that it's a small enough percentage of use scenarios that Nissan isn't negligent in putting a big asterisk on the windshield with a warning sign.
Yeah, I don't think they're negligent to not put the warning sign on there. I guess my point is more, I would have rather seen them engineer the vehicle to not raise the question of whether it needs an asterisk.
In theory, I agree with you. However, every vehicle has limitations. And I think one of the advantages to this Leaf, one of the things that makes it a great car, is range, the fun in driving it, what it does, how it looks, and it's not the most expensive electric car on the road. It's very reasonably priced electric car.
So David just chimed in the chat room, and I think he's really kind of making my point again. And I will be sending a small check to David at the end of the show.
I was just going to say, thank you. Thank you to David and Evan Alliance.
He says, I was a simple commuter in a Leaf and lost 50% in Maryland and Pennsylvania over my 6 years. It's not a small problem.
And I wouldn't argue with that. If you lost over 50% in 6 years, that's horrible. That's horrible. Yeah. I don't know any more about the use scenario, and I'm not going to defend Nissan there. Look, Evan, come on. Let's go back a few years. Remember when Leafs were like crapping out in the Southwest, and we ravaged them. I mean, we savaged Nissan for months.
But I think that's the point. I guess that's my point. I think, there are probably cost and maybe some engineering reasons. And there's probably, I'm sure that people sat around a big table in Japan and said, we can do this or we can't do this. And here's the risks and here's the benefits. And they just weighed it out that they're going to buy some people new batteries and they're going to have a couple lawsuits. Yes. And they're still going to make more money by not putting it in there.
From personal experience, that's exactly the way it works.
And I just think that's unfortunate, because I think there was an opportunity to make this vehicle that much better and to help push EVs forward rather than having more bad experiences lurking around on there online.
I totally disagree.
Worried about, their batteries, because what's everybody worried about when you talk about electric cars? What's the range? How much range did it lose?
Sure.
I mean, that is the question. That is a number 1, 2, and 3 question that I get. And I think they missed an opportunity to help make things better.
This is a perfect case of, and again, I'm not going to go on the strong Nissan defensive here. I don't think I need to, but you and I have been lucky enough to be involved in some experiences where we know that those are the kind of conversations that take place, that companies decide we could do this. The perfect is the enemy of the good. No car is perfect for everyone in every use scenario.
Right.
Every car would cost $1 billion. You know what I mean? It just, so every vehicle represents compromises. Now, again, we're having a great discussion on whether or not the compromises that Nissan make in making this 2018 Leaf SV, were they appropriate? Were they good or not? And maybe we'll disagree at the end. I think in general, Nissan made a lot of decent choices, and that's okay. It is what it is. And hopefully consumers are informed when they buy it, and they know, and they've figured out their use scenario with it, and it works.
So maybe that should segue into the next thing. And we talked about this a little bit before the show. So what are those choices? What choices in this vehicle make it enough better to you that if I'm going to go out there and buy a Nissan Leaf before the end of the year, that I would buy this one without its thermal management system, without any, a modest improvement in range, but beyond that, why would I buy this vehicle?
I don't work for Nissan. Which is to say, I'm not going to defend it. I will. I'll defend my point of view.
You liked it a lot, and that despite the lack of battery or thermal management system, that shouldn't prevent you from buying it. So
I think I said I would be delighted to own this car or something similar to that, and I definitely would. I would love to own that Leaf, acknowledging that I live in a hot climate and that it has certain thermal issues, and you'd have to kind of acknowledge that and know that you can't go on super long road trips with it, which I love to do, but I don't do that often. So what do I like about it? I like the new styling. I think it looks good. Okay. I like a lot of the interior choices that Nissan made. And by that, I mean, I said in the one of your other points, Evan, and I should just preface as we move into this part of the conversation, was that Evan was confused. I seemed to not like a lot of things, but in the end, I kept saying, I love this car. I like this car. And I get that that's confusing. I think at some point I made fun of myself by going like, when a car's really good, Russell gets nitpicky about little stuff. I think there was a caption like that. At least I seem to recall one. And I get nitpicky about little stuff because it's the perfect car. It's the best car. If you don't buy this car, you're an idiot. You can only drone on like that for so long. So like the stereo sucks in that car. It's awful. It's abominable. And I love music, and music to me is important. And especially when it's on the phone, it's just horrible buzzing, rattling noise. Drives me crazy. Would I still own the car? Yeah, I would. I deal with the stereo because I don't spend 10 hours a day in my car. So I would love.
So because of the acceleration, the handling, those sorts of things.
I like the styling. Like I said, I like the interior choices. I think I described the interior at one point, I think, as Spartan. It's like fabric seats in an SV, in the better model. Why didn't they put leather? I don't care. You know what? It didn't bother me, and that's fine. And fabric in a hotter climate has its advantages. So I'm glad that they economized in some areas to add the slightly bigger battery pack in this generation, to change the styling a little bit, to add things like ProPilot Assist and e-pedal technology. Huge thing. So yeah, so let's see what I was going over what I liked. The acceleration in this one is better than in the first gen.
Okay.
It's way fun to drive. Is it a Model 3? No, it's not. It's also not $70,000. So it's not supposed to be. It's a Nissan Leaf. I drove it all over, highway, city, all over the place. Had a blast doing it, and never once did I say this car doesn't go fast enough. Right. And keep in mind, California, where the average highway speed is like 11 billion miles an hour. That's saying something, because of course I don't drive over the speed limit with media vehicles, but if I did, I could. How's that? Wait. The attorney. Yeah, I definitely did not drive over the speed limit.
Great. Excellent.
Sorry.
I'm so glad to hear that.
But on a private professional closed course, yes, it goes very fast. It handles well. I really enjoyed the handling a lot. I think there was a recent discussion about how people hated drive-by-wire. And I was like, I love drive-by-wire. I think it's wonderful. I don't feel the need for a mechanical connection to the road that I understand some automobile owners love. I'm fine with drive-by-wire. And like I said, the Leaf handles brilliantly.
Cool. All right.
So comfortable, cute, fun to drive. Not the most expensive EV. In fact, one of the least expensive EVs you can buy. Not counting like crap like the iMeave or a used i3 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like going into a store and buying a brand new one. It's one of the least expensive EVs you can buy.
All right.
How's that? Is that enough good things?
I think that's enough.
Are you sure?
I'm not going to buy one, but yeah, it's enough.
No, you got 2 Teslas, right? I just want to buy one and sneer at it. You know, you're watching the Cards game, aren't you?
Nope, not.
David said he went with Tesla because it has a better battery life rep. Well, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't argue with that. I think one of the few criticisms that isn't leveled at Tesla very often is battery life.
Yeah.
You know, people ram them for all sorts of other stuff, but they've done really well with battery management. He liked the Leaf. He had a good amount of room in the hatchback. Yeah, absolutely. The Leaf has this huge trunk area that goes like down to the ground.
Nice.
Yeah. In fact, did you see the part where I was hitting my head?
Yeah, I saw you talk about it. I didn't actually. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see you actually do it. I think you need to go back and.
Well, I actually have some little video clips of me hitting my head, and I was going to edit them together and kind of go, yeah. But I just, like, it felt like I was just sort of like, why am I? I don't need to dig that hard. And yeah, I hit my head on the damn Prius hatch too, because those hatch arms didn't move it up very fast, so it would be like.
So you were just too damn impatient. The hatch on the Prius opens way up.
It opens way up, but it takes about 2.5 hours to get up there. That's the problem, Oh, yeah. And I bumped my head on that stupid cover of the Leaf. Half a dozen times.
They'll be sending you a bill for the damage.
Yeah, the hatch cover's terrible. Thank you, thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. I don't know what else. I think Evan, we might have covered it. Yeah,
that was kind of fun. I'm glad we did that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. I really honestly appreciate that you took the time, number one, to watch my stupid review, and number two, that you actually cared enough to ask questions. I mean,
they were, legit questions. I just wanted answers because I didn't understand what the differences were, but I think that especially the ProPilot is really, really close to what Autopilot does, and I think that's great. And we're obviously seeing that on more and more vehicles. Starting to come out, and hate what Tesla calls it or not, everybody else is following their lead on that.
No argument. To some extent, I mean, Tesla's irresponsible marketing has. No, I'm just trying to get a rise out of you. Did it work? Probably not. I guess that's all I got. You got anything else?
I got nothing. I do have a shout out tonight.
Do you?
I do, a little one.
Wow. Please, Dr. Fusco.
I don't even know if he's watching, but I'm shouting out to my friend Phil Case. He sent me an email tonight. He and his wife are very excited. They just got the email that their dual or all-wheel drive Model 3 is en route. So he is super excited. Now, why he's getting his before I'm getting mine, I don't know. But he was a day one line stander. Drove all the way up to Kansas City from here to stand in line and get his deposit down. So,
how many Teslas does he have in the driveway?
No, this will be his first.
Exactly.
He's a long time Prius owner. Actually, I sold him his first Prius as well, and so I'm responsible for the Model 3 too, I guess.
Oh no! You started a bad habit with some
bad influence.
You are a bad. What are you? Is your Model S up for sale yet?
Not well. Not until I hear about when I'm getting the Model 3. But yeah, if anybody wants it, let me know. I got the information on it.
Really?
Yeah. If somebody wants to buy it and can wait till I get my 3, which should be really in the next couple of weeks, I would guess. But
wow, what have you looked and see what's it worth?
Depends. Kelly Blue Book gives you kind of a big range. And then I'm including like
8,000 and 70,000.
Yeah, I'm including a extra set of rims with winter tires, and then I'll probably keep the dash cam on there, and a couple of the, I've got a few upgrades on it. So I'm hoping to get like 37 out of it.
That's not bad though.
I don't think it's bad.
What size pack?
85.
It's an 85.
Yeah, but it's 97,000 miles, and it's a 2012, so it doesn't have parking sensors. It doesn't have autopilot.
You put 90,000 miles in that car?
Yeah, man. Especially the first couple of years I had it, it was our everything vehicle. And my kids, that was when I got it, it was before my boys were driving. And so I would put 100 miles a day on that car.
Wow.
Yeah, I've driven the wheel 5.5 years. Yeah.
That's beautiful though. I mean, I love the idea that you have, you know what I mean, that you beat that you use that car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's in great shape. It's had a couple little minor paint blemishes and stuff here and there, but it's in excellent shape. So somebody's going to be getting a deal on it for sure.
I'll offer you 35 if you take all the Arkansas crap off it.
That's a no-go.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the Arkansas crap off, but it's 45. See how you are. Well, shout out. His name was Phil Case.
Phil Case.
Hey, Phil. Right on. Good luck, man.
He's a regular watcher of at least the Tesla Life and I think the show as well. So
right on. I'm going to say hi to Catherine, who's in the chat room. Hi,
Catherine, David, JT. I'll chat.
David, JT. Yeah, thank you. And apparently some unnamed people, but hey, JT. Hey, Catherine and David. And David, thank you. I appreciate your feedback. I mean, I had the car for 1 week. And I've never been like, I absolutely know everything about this car. Owners know about a car.
Yeah. We need to get you, seriously though, Russell, we need to get you in a Tesla for a week.
I would love that.
I know you would. And I think I would love to hear your thoughts afterwards, because you have a lot of impressions that I think might be reinforced in the first 24 hours. And I think after the end of 7 days would be dramatically changed.
Well, all my experience in Tesla cars, and it's SX and 3, I've driven all 3, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Half an hour.
That's just not 10 enough.
Minutes. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. You need to take a road trip of 200 or 300 miles and use that autopilot and see how well it does work, but how it can screw up as well. I think it would make a big difference for you.
David wants to know where I am. I'm in Temecula, California, David. Do you know where that is? No one knows where that is. It's Riverside County, south part of Riverside County. Sort of on the 15 in between San Diego and Riverside. That's sort of helpful. But yeah, maybe some stupid Tesla owner will reach out. Yeah, you want to drive my car? Sure.
You come hang out with me. You can drive my S for a week.
I know. I want to buy your S. I just
it's awesome.
Where am I gonna get there? And then I gotta go to JT wants to see me in a Tesla. Well, buy me one, babe. Okay. I got a price. It's free. Yeah, I appreciate that. It might be too far away. So that's all I got. Evan, you got anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm glad we did this though.
Yeah, fun. Dude. So totally. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for watching. Everybody in the chat room, once again, a big thank you for that. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have other questions, interact with us on Facebook. Once again, facebook.com/whatdrivesus, Twitter @whatdrivesus. Do support our show. If you like this show, you can go to patreon.com/whatdrivesusshow. That's patreon.com/whatdrivesusshow. For less than a quarter a show, okay, you can subscribe for $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show. You can support the show. We've never had a budget. We don't get paid. We just do this because we love it, but we'd love to be able to go do some more shows and buy some technical stuff. So that's what we do. Well, and we'd use the money for drugs probably, but Did I say that?
It's legal where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very legal where I am, actually. Yeah.
Much more costly here for me. It's not legal.
Yeah. No. We're not gonna go there. So anyway, and then of course, youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Go there, hit subscribe. We need your help and your support there. Please do that. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great week. We will see you in just 2 days, Wednesday, for our next episode of What Drives Us. Until then, drive safe. And I didn't. Let's put up the music.
Oh yeah, music. And
we have goodbye music. We don't have goodbye titles or entry titles, but we have goodbye music. So, hey, thanks again.
Oh yeah.
See you next week. No, see you Wednesday.
Not me. I'm gone. I'll be in Memphis.
You're going to be here, whether you like it or not, mister.